is. Greetings from the beautiful San Francisco Bay Area. It is bright and early here. Have I been up a long time? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Of course, I have a special visitor from the East. Wee Charlie woke me up a little early this morning. Hope everybody's doing well, having a great Wednesday. We are a little discombobulated here in the beautiful San Francisco Bay Area with the newborn, the youngster. I guess he's not quite newborn. But yeah, so today the plan is Jason Hayes has sent the Missouri online rules test, which apparently comes from the NFHS rules questions. It seems like there's some questions in there that may be from test 1. If anybody has NFHS test 2 or test 1 and wants to send it to me, they can feel free to do that at hello@abetterofficial.com. I'd love to do that, but I don't have it. I don't have the test. Yeah. Okay. And without the test, I can't do it. I can't. I'll put this down here. Oh, awesome. Jason, thank you for sending that test along. My tech team has, set it up in the system. Should be able to execute this morning. There are a couple of questions. So here's the deal. I'm going to go through these questions. I don't have the answers. I got to come up with my own answers. Oh my gosh, it's so difficult. If I screw up and get a question wrong, you got to let me know so I can redo it. Good morning, Chris, 83. Richard Masterson's in the house. Good to see you, Richard. Mark, are you still in Oakland? That's what everybody wants to know. And where are you staying? Are you staying at the Marriott downtown or one of the many fine hotels in the Oakland area? So I got a little wiggle and jiggle in my table here. I'm going to have to come up with a solution for that. Yeah. Good morning, Mike. Hey, so Mike, I have a question for you. Case play expert. I got an email question from Galen Lowry. If both teams fail to submit their rosters prior to the 10-minute mark before the game, will both teams be awarded 2 free throws? If both teams change a designated starter prior to the beginning of the game, does each team get 2 free throws? If this is true, then I assume we will begin with a jump ball, correct? Well, there's a sort of a mixed answer there. If we're treating this as simultaneous violations, which I believe there is a case play, maybe Mike can produce that for us. If we could treat it as simultaneous, they will offset and no free throws will be attempted. It is a double administrative technical foul. And so we would begin with a jump ball. If we are going to assess penalties for each and each team will shoot, then we're going to do it in the order of occurrence. So that would be the key part of that equation. Off the top of my head, I know there is a pregame situation where they do offset. I believe the failure to submit by both teams would be a double tactical situation. But the changing starters, making a change to the book. Well, teams can obviously change designated starters due to injury or illness at any point. So, but if we had make a change to the roster after the 10-minute mark, one team makes a change at 8 minutes before the game, and one team makes a change with 4 minutes before the game, what would we have then? Ay, ay, ay. Oh, no. That is awful. That's really awful. I assume that was a rental, and hey, messy business. Life in the big city. Tom, good to see you. Zooch. Yes. Much coffee will be had. David Backen in the house. And Dr. Phil. Oh. Let's see. Go back to the 2012 version that I have out. Of course, we don't have case books anymore here in California. We get this rules by topic, which is, sort of does an editorial twist on case plays. But here we are at 7:08. I know that because I'm looking up at my clock on the wall, which is still not a habit for me. If I look, what time is it? I look at my wrist. I look at my computer. I don't look at my big clock. I got the big clock so I can be aware. Ay, ay, ay. So we're going to look today at the Missouri State. So today we're looking at the Missouri State High School Officials Association, a test that they produce for their officials. It's taken from NFHS rules test questions, and that's what we're going to look at today. Hold on just a second. Okay, I want to press that button and then that button. All right, rules questions and fundamental rules rules questions. Let's go. Let's look at our very first question. The throw-in after a 10-second violation is always awarded at A, the division line opposite the table, B, the end line nearest the violation, C, one of the 4 designated spots nearest the violation, or D, the sideline closest to the team benches. The throw-in after a 10-second violation is a 10-second violation. Where is the basketball in a 10-second violation? 10-second, where a team has 10 seconds to gain front court status with the basketball. If we have a violation, a 10-second violation, by definition, the ball is still in the back court. If the violation is in the back court of the team that violates, it is obviously going to be in the front court of their opponent. In this instance, we're going to have a front court throw-in that's not related to an out-of-bounds violation, so it is going to be at one of the 4 throw-in spots by rule, right? Similarly, if we have a backcourt violation, right, by a team, they have the ball in the front court and they have a backcourt violation, the throw-in is obviously going to be in the front court for the opponent, right? So this is similar to that. Our correct answer on this play would obviously be C. New this year in 2023, one of the 4 designated spots nearest the violation. Does it have to be at the 28-foot? No. The ball could have, gotten to, still been closest to the end line. In this situation, the ball could be in flight. And this could confuse our crew, right? A team is, the count is approaching 10, either a visible count or in states that use a shot clock, possibly before the clock hits the magic number. The player in the backcourt throws the ball towards the front court. It's over the front court, and the official blows their whistle. Wait, can you do that? Can you do that, ref? He'd released the ball. Yes, you can, right? The team has a responsibility for the ball to gain front court status before the 10 seconds has expired. A thrown ball from the back court would not have achieved this, right? So it has to be a throw-in. The correct answer is C, and we're going to move on to our very next question. An injured or bleeding player tended to by a coach or other bench personnel may remain in the game if A, either team takes a timeout, B, the player's team takes a timeout and the situation can be corrected by the end of the timeout, C, the player is better in less than 30 seconds, or D, the player's team is trailing in score. Well, that sounds fair. That sounds fair, right? If we have an injured or bleeding player, first, if we have a bleeding player, that player shall be directed to leave the game. If we have an injured player and the personnel is beckoned onto the court to attend to that injured player, then that player must leave the game as well. In either of those situations, either bleeding or injured, and anytime personnel is beckoned onto the court, the player is directed to leave the game. The head coach can have that player remain in the game if they request a timeout, and at the end of the timeout, that player is ready to play. Okay, so these are the criteria. So our correct answer here would be B. The player's team takes a timeout, and the situation can be corrected by the end of the timeout. Right, an obvious similar situation is two players going for a loose ball. Boom! Explosion, right? No, whether a foul is ruled or not ruled, these players are both, took a hard hit and they are both stunned, possibly injured. Personnel from both benches are beckoned to attend to these players. Now we have a situation where we have two players who've been dealt with, and in that situation, the head coach from both teams would have to request a timeout in order to keep that player in the game. So if Team A's player, the head coach requests a timeout because they want to keep them in, Team B's player would be directed to leave the game and could not return at the end of the timeout unless their team also took a timeout. So that's a unique scenario. One we have to be aware of. It doesn't happen too often, but it can be a situation with bleeding players because sometimes a bleeding player will get blood on another player, right? And now we have multiple players who are directed to leave the game. It may be a simple solution. One player has blood on their jersey, but another player has blood on their arm from contacting the player, etc. So, situations to be aware of. 2 questions in. We're moving along. Let's look at question number 3. After a goal, the team not credited with the score, A, may pass the ball along the end line outside the boundary line. B, receives a throw-in from outside the end line as it was at the end where the goal was made or scored. C, may call a timeout, or D, all of the above. All right. Okay, some wording in this question, not so super clear. Let's see. May a team, after a scored goal, the opponent of the team that scored, the team not credited with the score, that's unusual language, may pass the ball along the end line outside the boundary. Absolutely. They can have multiple players out of bounds. They can have up to 5 players out of bounds. They can pass the ball between themselves. They can do a little Harlem Globetrotters routine out of bounds if they want, but they have to do that all within the 5-second count. They receive a throw-in from outside the end line at the end where the goal was made or was scored. Yes, it would be at that end. They can obviously request a timeout. So the correct answer here, I think, would be D, all of the above. All of those are legal. Pretty straightforward. Just some strange language. Let's move on. Next question. Question number 4. It is a delay of game to not have the court ready to play following a timeout. Is that a delay of game? So again, this wording is a little imprecise, let's say. Fail to immediately pass the ball to the nearest official when a whistle sounds. C, prevent the ball from being put in play. Or D, all of the above. Okay, if a team does not have the court ready to play following a timeout, and they have not been given such a warning previously, the team receives a warning for delay. Is that a delay of game? Yes, suppose, yes. Is it a delay of game to fail to immediately pass the ball to the nearest official when the whistle sounds? This player is liable for a player technical for delay by failing to pass the ball to the nearest official when a whistle sounds. Obviously, there's going to be a period of time here for that play to develop. It's like you're holding the ball, whistle, up, I got you. You didn't throw it immediately to me. Or prevent the ball from being put in play. Ball, the goal is scored. The team that scored, one of their players bats the ball away from the thrower who wanted to get the ball. That would be a delay of game warning as well. And if a team warning for delay had previously been issued, then the team would receive a team technical foul for delay in this situation. So I've thought through the language, and I think the bottom line here is that all of these are a delay of game to do these actions. That's the intent of the question here. Yeah, we're going to go with that. Okay, let's look at question number 5. If the free thrower violates first, if the free thrower violates first, the ball becomes dead immediately. B, the point counts if the ball goes in the basket. C, the ball is awarded to the opponent at the free throw line extended. Or D, all of the above. Well, here's something we could take with us onto the basketball court. If the thrower or a teammate of the thrower is involved in violating during a free throw, that free throw has ended. The ball has become dead and that free throw has ended. So if our thrower violates, let's say they release the try and step on the line or into the lane. They have violated. The ball becomes dead. Even though they had released it, there was no team control. The ball was in flight. Team violates, that throw-in has ended. Similarly, a player in a marked lane space for the opponent enters, and a player from beyond the three-point arc, teammate of the thrower, comes rushing in because they saw it on TV. Comes rushing in prior to the ball contacting the ring. We have a simultaneous violation, opponent of the thrower, teammate of the thrower. The ball becomes dead because the teammate of the thrower was involved, right? So our answer here on number 5 is something, like I say, we could take with us onto the basketball court. The ball becomes dead immediately if the thrower violates, whether it's first. I guess we should go with first. So that's what we have on that. Okay. All right, I'm 5 questions. It's, have I made a mistake yet? There's 2 ways I can make a mistake. One is I can just misunderstand the question, obviously, and get it wrong. Or the other is my graphics are set up incorrectly. Because my tech team, even though they try, they're not super knowledgeable about NFHS basketball rules. Mark, what do you do? What do you do? Right? In Petaluma. Nice. That's what I said. Yeah, Petaluma, established 1848, I think. There's a big sign by the freeway. Maybe a little sooner. Oh, boy. Oh. All right. Kevin, all right, fantastic. So one of the things, our rules content is based on teams, NFHS basketball rules, which include the 4 quarters scenario. In Wisconsin, you're going to, have a little bit of a twist on that with your playing halves. So there'll be some stuff that's rules related that, doesn't apply. But for the most part, yeah. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. And thank you. We really like it when we can help young officials, right? Because associations don't always give them the training they need to succeed. That's why we're developing a lot of training courses, etc., for young officials as well. The Ray Allen shows up in the chat. Good to see you, Ray. Hope you're doing well. All right, so we have at least 3 people in the Bay Area. We got Mark, Ray, and Greg. Oh, okay. All right, Martin, that's fantastic. That's great news. That's great news. Then I wouldn't have to do the NFHS if we're okay. FIBA boy Tony, pay attention for when So you have a situation where you have a local tournament and teams come from the United States and you play with high school rules and not FIBA rules. They don't have to match the rules of the locale, because we have a huge girls tournament here in the Bay Area. And we get teams from other states, so we have shot clocks, but we don't conform with their rules. They have to conform with California rules. So that's interesting. Yes, it is. Come take my schedule, please. Oy, oy, oy. All right. So what do? I go here for the transition, because this is where I was. I hear we, Charlie. All right, let's take a look. Question number 6. Which of these is a foul when committed against the ball handler? So a defender commits these actions on a ball handler. A, placing 2 hands on a player. B, placing 1 hand on a player and keeping it there. C, contacting the player more than once with the same or alternating hands. Or D, placing an extended armbar on the player. This sounds like the definition of a foul in the rules book. So obviously our answer here is going to be all of the above. All of these are illegal actions for hand checking. 2 hands on a player, right? This is so common amongst defenders. A player makes a move, tries to go past them. What do? They immediately extend their hands, both hands. You see this with younger players especially. Placing a hand on and keeping it on, that's usually a way to redirect, reroute a ball handler. Contacting the player more than once, this is the challenging one, right? Because the defenders allowed a hot stove touch, but just one, right? So they do a hot stove touch, dribble, 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 another hot stove touch. By definition, that's a foul. Are we going to put a whistle on that play all the time? Maybe, maybe not. Or an extended armbar on a player. A ball handler dribbler is what we got on that. So our correct answer here would be E. All of the above would be a foul using National Federation of High School basketball rules. It's the definition, 10-7-12. And it was put there because the NFHS said we're not getting enough freedom of movement whistles, right? The players are being allowed to be redirected, etc. We're going to put it in the rules book. Specifically, what is illegal by rule? All right, question 7. The first marked lane spaces on each side of the lane shall be occupied by A, the opponent of the free thrower, B, teammates of the free thrower, C, players designated by the officials. Okay, you're over here. Or D, the first players to obtain the spaces. Okay, like musical chairs. Oh, well, A, the opponents of the free thrower is obviously defined. The opponents of the thrower must occupy those two spaces. It's not optional. All the other spaces, marked lane spaces, are optional, but by rule, opponents of the thrower must occupy the first marked lane spaces. That's pretty straightforward. Let's move at question number 8. The location of each team's bench shall be determined by whom? Who determines the location of each team's bench? Game administration. Game administration is responsible for determining, hey, the home team is going to sit there and the visitors team is going to sit there, right? The officials do not have that control. The officials so sometimes we get to a situation, well, let's answer the question, right? So game management, the correct answer here is C, right? Game management is responsible for doing this. Now, sometimes we might arrive at a gym and somebody has been assigned, hey, put the chairs out for the team benches, and they do, let's say, a haphazard job. And they have put rather than having all of the chairs below the 28-foot line in the team's bench area, they have, maybe slid a few chairs closer to the table. In this instance, the officials should go move the chairs. Maybe we should instruct game management or ask game management to properly place the chairs. Something we could do. If we stealthily move the chairs, would anybody notice? But specifically, if the venue says no, this is the bench area, right, and it's shifted, right? Like sometimes you'll get this when the bench area is extended stands, where there's people sitting here, and the sort of the bench area is not big enough for the team, and they sort of slide closer to the table. That's not the end of the world. The bench area can be closer to the table, but that doesn't give the head coach, though, the ability to stand and coach their team in front of their team, the players sitting in the bench, right? That's just stuff to know. So the location of team's bench shall be determined by game management. That is their responsibility always. 9, a player who extends an blank into the path of an opponent is not considered to have a legal position if contact occurs. What can a player extend into the path of an opponent? Sort of a fundamental concept in the game of basketball is the act of guarding, or the act of screening is the act of placing your body in the path of an opponent. Your body, by definition here, being the torso. You're not allowed to extend a leg. You're not allowed to extend a hand, an elbow, a hip, right, which is outside of, the normal frame of the body. So our correct answer here, a hip is definitely illegal. An arm is definitely illegal. A leg, a shoulder, right? Again, clearly the answer here is all of the above, right? legally placing your body in the path of an opponent, unless there's some time and distance restrictions involved, is the act of guarding or the act of screening. Body in the path. It's this sort of a fundamental concept in the game of basketball. Moving on. Question number 10. If a free throw is not successful and the ball is to remain live, the clock shall be started when? Right? So a free throw that's not successful, it bounces on the ring, it's caroms to the side. When the ball falls below the rim, B, the ball touches a player, C, the ball touches a floor, or D, none of the above. Well, I hope our timer doesn't start until the official signals. If a free throw is unsuccessful, it is when it is legally touched, I would say, by a player, right? Could possibly have a situation where the ball is illegally touched. Would the clock properly start in that situation? We can talk about that in a minute. So it's not, when a free throw ends is when it's obvious it will not be successful, or it falls below the ring, or it contacts the floor, right? Or the throwing team violates. That's one of the ways that a free throw ends, but that doesn't apply here. We're talking about when we start the clock. The correct answer here is going to be B, the ball touches a player. I would say we have to have a legal touch. If we had a rebounder who punched the basketball, that's an illegal touching, and it, caroms to a teammate, and we knew definitive knowledge, because of course we're always going to have definitive knowledge of what the clock was in a free throw situation, right? Because we always check the clock and have the number. And then we could have the bicycle kick scenario. It's possible. Unlikely. But I would say when the ball legally touches a player, but this is obviously our correct answer here. B is the correct answer. Yeah. See, I'm building in, so when I edit it down. Yes. Good morning, Chris Janish. Good morning. I got a couple of your plays looking good. Possibly on Friday. We'll see if you make the cut. We'll see. True. Have you ever had that situation, Billy? The team is down to one player. They have a chance to win. The player is able to foul. That would be hard. That would be hard, considering there's 5 players and 1 defender. Oh, the South Dakota contingent just shows up at this hour. Phil Haddad, good to see you. Hey, Larry, good to see you. David, back in three cheeseheads. Nice. Yeah, what do you be using cheese, right? Because one of the ideas that we like to communicate is an official's rules knowledge is like a round of cheese, right? You look at it visibly, it looks 100% complete, and understand. You cut the round of cheese, you open it up, and all of a sudden there's voids, there's gaps, there's bubbles, etc., where there's a lack of knowledge, right? And for a young official, right, for our first-year official, if we can come onto the court and present ourselves as having that complete round of cheese, it's just by our demeanor and our actions, then the stakeholders in the game have no way of knowing we may not have complete rules knowledge and how to handle situations, right? But our demeanor can cover that fact, and of course we'd always want to be not susceptible, able to receive information like from a partner that, hey, this is the correct ruling in this situation, right? We want to be accessible and humble, and able to receive information, but we want to present the fact that we understand exactly all of the rules needed to officiate this game. We present that dynamic, then we are better off, and the game is going to say, I accept you. I accept you in your role. I disagree with that call, but I believe you know what you're doing. So that's important. Good to see you, Kevin, from Indianapolis, Indiana, home of NFHS and NCAA. How does that come to be? How does that come to be? Okay, and I go back to here. Question 11. If a thrower is holding the ball over the inbounds area of the boundary line plane and an opponent touches the ball, well, that's got to be something. You don't see it every day. It is a technical foul. B, it is illegal play. C, it is an intentional foul. Or D, none of the above. Okay, so our language of the question is a little let's say the thrower extends the ball through the boundary plane and is holding the ball over the court, right? That's a clearer visual of what we have. The thrower extends the ball through the boundary plane, right? What do we know about a defender in a throw-in situation? They are not allowed to violate the boundary plane until the thrower releases a pass onto the court, possibly a preface for an upcoming question. Right? So we cannot violate the boundary plane, but if the thrower extends the ball through, I would not be violating the boundary plane by contacting the basketball. So, yeah. So that's a legal play. Also have to understand that throw-ins and the whole boundary plane and thrower being out of bounds and a touching of the ball by a player inbounds, we sort of have to fudge the rules of inbounds, out of bounds status and create exceptions, right? So if a player on the court touches the basketball when a thrower extends it through, well, the thrower's out of bounds holding the basketball. Isn't that an out of bounds violation? That's, intuitively our brain says, wait, what? Right? It doesn't comply with our understanding of the rules, but there's an exception in that situation just because we have to come up with a solution somehow. So a defender is allowed to legally touch the basketball if it's over the court. And that's what we have on this play. Correct answer is B. This is a legal play. Now, player inbounds, the thrower extends the ball over the court. Either maybe they start to lose their balance and they just, the ball is presented right in front of the defender. Defender slaps down and whacks the ball hard. But they hit the ball. It bounces down. They recover the ball. They shoot a layup. And the coach is like, what? That is a legal play by rule. Now let's think the same scenario. Defender extends the ball through the plane. Player does the same thing, but not so accurate. Hard slap on the arm. What do we have in that situation? That would be an intentional foul. Even though they didn't violate the boundary plane, they're not allowed to contact the thrower, even if the thrower extends their arms over the court. So something we have to be aware of. Obviously, throw-in rules and restrictions are something we have to be very aware of. Not so much what is legal, what is illegal, because you're going to see a wide range of things during throw-ins. That is a fact. So this is a legal play. Let's move on to question number 12. A designated spot out of bounds throw-in ends when A, the passed ball touches or is legally touched by another player in bounds. B, the passed ball touches or is touched by another player out of bounds. C, the throw-in team commits a throw-in violation. Or D, all of the above. Well, what I would say about this is question number 12 is something you definitely want to know, right? We want to know when a throw-in ends. Again, there will be many, many throw-ins in your game. And knowing exactly when they end will help us understand the rules, but it'll also help us in an alternating possession scenario. Because when does the possession arrow change? When we have an alternating possession throw-in, when does the possession arrow change? It changes when the throw-in ends. So if we know when the throw-in ends, throwing team violated, we're going to switch the arrow. Ball was touched in bounds, we're going to switch the arrow. Ball was thrown, touched by a player who is out of bounds, that throw-in has ended. We're going to switch the arrow, right? So knowing that is really important. All three of these, A, B, and C, are true statements. Those are all ways that a throw-in can possibly end. So our correct answer here is D, all of the above. This is extremely important knowledge to take with us onto the basketball court. If we know this, it's going to help us a lot. Okay, question. Lucky 13? Wait, where's my sad trombone? I don't even have my sad trombone. That is sad, and that should give a sad trombone as well. The fact that I don't have the sad trombone. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. The resumption of play procedure allows the official to prevent delay by A, placing the ball on the floor, B, starting the throw-in count, C, waiting until the thrower is ready, or D, A and B. The resumption of play procedure, right? Team is coming out of a timeout. They delay their return to the court. Both horns have sounded. We've given maybe a little bit of extra time. They are not coming onto the court. The official says, I'm going to use the resumption of play procedure, and the throwing team, let's say, is still huddling. I am going to place the ball on the floor. By rule, that ball is considered to be at the disposal of the thrower, and our officials shall begin their count, their 5-second count. So A, placing the ball on the floor, and B, starting the throw-in count are correct, and our correct answer would be D, A and B, right? We can place the ball on the floor and start the throw-in count. We're not waiting until the throwing team is ready because the reason we're using resumption of play is because we're trying to prevent delay, right? So, easy peasy. I'm going to press the right button here. You watch me. During an interrupted dribble, I find interrupted dribble to be something that is commonly misunderstood by some officials. And I will prove in this instance, I might be one of them. No. A closely guarded count shall not be started or shall be terminated. B, an out-of-bounds violation can be called on the dribbler. C, a timeout request shall be granted. D, a player control foul can be committed. Okay. On this one, my answer, during an interrupted dribble, the closely guarded count shall not be started. That is a true statement. Shall be terminated. I thought it should be suspended. An out-of-bounds violation can be called on the dribbler. I would say that is not correct. A timeout shall be granted. No, that is not correct. We don't have player control in that instance. And therefore, a player control foul cannot be committed. So our correct answer here is A, a closely guarded count shall not be started or shall be terminated. All right, next question. Each jumper shall have what? What shall they have within that half of the center restraining circle which is farther from the jumper's basket? That is very strict language. They will have 1 foot, both feet, 1 foot or both feet. D, none of the above. I believe the purpose of the rule here is for a player to have both feet within their half of the center restraining circle, which is farther from their basket. Now, if a player decided to stand like a stork, would that be something we'd have to address? No. No, it wouldn't. Correct answer here is B, both feet. Right? So the player can't have one foot out of the circle. They can't have one of their feet on the other side of the division line until the toss is released by the official. No, back up. Yeah. Did I get that interrupted dribble question correct? I am absolutely uncertain of what I thought. You should not start a count. If you have a count, you should suspend a count. But we don't terminate the count. So a player's dribbling, they dribble. First of all, what is an interrupted dribble, right? The defense knocks it away? No. A momentary loss of control by a dribbler. Momentary loss of control by a dribbler, right? So most often they dribble the ball off of their foot or their knee and it gets away from them. It could also be a situation where they change direction, they bounce the ball, move far enough away that they're not able to do a subsequent dribble. It deflects off their hand, etc. That's an interrupted dribble, a momentary loss of control by a dribbler. Not if the defense causes the same action, that dribble has ended. By rule, the loss of control when touched by an opponent is, or another player, either teammate, like a screener accidentally extends an elbow and it contacts the ball and they lose control. Has the dribble ended? That's a good one. But did I get that question right? Let me know. If I didn't, I'll fix it and I'll just fix it and do it right now. Aye. Hey, John, the Alaska contingent is growing. Good to see you in the chat. Excellent. But do let me know if I got that illegal interrupted dribble question correct, because I can fix it right now and not have to redo it on the next episode. So I'm going to do 25 questions today. We're at 15. So what does that mean? It means I better get going, ref. Press the wrong button. Yeah. I go there. No, I could just go there and there. The official's jurisdiction prior to the game begins when they arrive on the floor. The official's arrival on the floor shall be A, at least 10 minutes prior to the scheduled starting time of the game, which may vary due to the outcome of the preceding game. B, at least 15 minutes prior to the scheduled starting time of the game. C, at whatever time the previous game concludes. Or D, when suggested by the school administrator. Right. So, a simple question. We may handle this situation differently in practice, but this is a rules-based question. When are the officials to be on the court prior to the game? 15 minutes before game time, right? So our correct answer here is B, at least 15 minutes prior to the scheduled starting time of the game. The game is due to start at 7. The officials should be on the court at 6:45. In practice, obviously there are many, many, many variables. The JV game went triple overtime. First of all, ding those officials who allowed a triple overtime game in the JV game, and we got the varsity game. What are you doing? But the JV game goes long, right? And by agreement of both coaches, they say, Coach, how much time do you need? How much time do you need? 8 minutes? 8 minutes? Okay. We'll put 8 minutes on the clock. So in practice, many things can happen. We come out at 6:45 for a 7 o'clock game, and the game clock shows 10 minutes and counting down, right? Because they both, without the agreement of the officials, both teams said, hey, let's just put 10 minutes up and run it and get going. So in practice, that's a thing. Let's look at question 17. The jump ball and restrictions end when? When do those restrictions end on one of our 3 restarts in the game of basketball? Something we should definitely know, because there are special restrictions that start when when a restart starts. The restrictions apply until the end. So, a jump ball and restrictions end when one of these things happen, or multiple. A, the touched ball contacts an official. Boom. Look out, ref. B, the touched ball contacts the floor. C, the touched ball contacts a jumper. Or D, all of the above. This sounds like basically the definition of when a jump ball ends. One more, when it contacts the backboard or the ring, either backboard or ring, would also be an end of jump ball and restrictions. So our correct answer here is D, all of the above. Question number 18 is the throw-in count ends when what happens? The throw-in count, right? A player has 5 seconds to do what? End the throw-in? No. A, when the clock starts. The clock would start when it was legally touched inbounds. B, the ball is touched inbounds by any player. The clock would start then. C, the ball is released by the thrower, so the passed ball goes directly into the court. Or D, none of the above, right? A player, understanding, again, the restrictions on throwers. What are the restrictions? What is illegal during a throw-in? A great skill to have. A player has 5 seconds to do what? Release a throw-in pass. Once the throw-in pass is released, the official's count has ended. If it is less than 5, it has ended, right? So that's our answer here. The correct answer is C. The ball is released by the thrower, so the passed ball goes directly into the court, giving us we've got our multiple players out of bounds. They're passing the ball between teammates. They're doing that Harlem Globetrotter routine out of bounds. Practiced all week. But they fail to actually release a throw-in pass onto the court within the 5 seconds, right? So a throw-in pass has to be released. A throw-in pass is a thrower throwing the ball directly onto the court. Yeah, so that's our answer. Let's look at our next question. Number 19, a player may wear. What may a player wear? Ooh, a lot of words. A, hair adornments such as beads that are securely fastened to the head and do not present an increased risk to the player, teammates, or opponents. B, a headband with long extensions tied in a knot at the back of the head. C, a red wristband while teammates are wearing blue wristbands. Or D, all of the above. Interesting question. Right, so a couple years ago, NFHS said we're going to allow hard items in the hair for players as long as it is securely secured to the head and not at the end, say, of hair that can whip. Oh, right? Easy to imagine scenario. A player has beads in their hair. They have long hair. It's not secure. They whip their head to look for a pass. Their hair whips around, contacts the opponent in the eye. Not obviously safety risk. But if their beads or hard items are secured to their head, they essentially do not present an increased risk to the player, teammates, or an opponent. And that would be legal, and it's now legal. Obviously, headbands that are tied with long extensions are specifically prohibited by rule, and a red wristband while teammates are wearing blue wristbands. If we are wearing player equipment wristbands, arm sleeve, leg sleeve, tights, headband, right? They all have to be the same color. One question we could ask is, if a team is wearing blue wristbands, what do we know? We know they are the visitors and they are wearing blue, right? Because the package items, headband, wristband, arm sleeve, leg sleeve, tights, must be black, white, or beige, or the predominant color of the jersey. So if a player was legally wearing blue wristbands, they must be visitors, and they must be wearing blue. Yeah, a little deductive logic. So our correct answer here is A. Hair adornments such as beads, securely fastened to the head and don't present an increased risk, are now legal. Important to understand that, legal by rule, National Federation of High School. Question number 20. After the ball is tossed for a jump ball, but before it is tapped, non-jumpers, A, shall not have either foot break the plane of the restraining circle, B, shall not take a position in any occupied space, or C, both of those previous two statements, or D, neither of those two previous statements. Knowing restrictions on, right, previously we talked about knowing the restrictions, what is legal, or no, what is illegal on throw-ins, having incredible value. Having that same knowledge about jump balls has less value because you know what? You're only going to need that once a game on average. So, knowing those, a little harder for us to really ingrain. But what we know is that when the ball is released on a jump ball, the ball is live. We do know that there are restrictions on non-jumpers. There's restrictions on jumpers and there's restrictions on non-jumpers. And knowing those is our key to understanding and adjudicating plays. Non-jumpers cannot break the imaginary cylinder of the circle, right? So we've had case plays before on 5 Play Friday where a player, the thrower, the official releases the toss and a teammate of the jumper runs across the lane because they anticipate where the ball is going to be tapped to. Either because they know their teammate is going to tap it, or they know that their opponent is going to win this tap. Super tall guy jumping, short guy jumping, right? So that's illegal. We know that's illegal by rule. Shall not take a position in any occupied space is also illegal. So our correct answer here is C. Both A and B are true. Non-jumpers shall not take those actions. Not going there. Yeah. Oh, and Billy Mack is not going to, even without looking, I know that Billy Mack's not going to have an opinion about jump balls. Oh, thank you, Mike. Thank you. Well, there you go. Shall be terminated. I thought it was suspended. I'm thinking, obviously, of 3-second. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mike. So a player is dribbling, and they are closely guarded. There's a momentary loss of a dribble, right? We've got to count, and then we should then begin a count in the other direction. So when people ask the question, how many counts could you have on a particular play, right? The player catches the basketball. If they are closely guarded, the official begins a count. They begin dribbling, the official begins another count. They terminate their dribble and are holding the basketball, the official begins another count, right? But we could have like 20 Other counts, players dribbling the basketball, the official has a count. It bounces off their ankle, it gets loose, moves away. They pick it up, they dribble again. We begin another count, repeat, rinse, and repeat in a non-shot clock state. Oh. Yes, Skylar brought the Tide with extensions headband. Oh, here it is. The jump ball is as outdated as two-hand set shots, laced basketballs, peach baskets, and chicken wire cages around the perimeter of the court. I agree, Billy. I share the sentiment. No more jump balls. Okay, now I'm going to do this transition effectively. I'm going to go here. Question 21. A player along the lane line during a free throw shall not enter the free throw semicircle until the ball touches A, the floor, B, another player, C, the ring, or D, the backboard. So we're talking about a situation where, let's say, a player, an opponent of the thrower in the third marked lane space, almost always, if you think it through, right, violates the free throw semicircle, basically violates the free throw line, may not break that plane, or no, I wouldn't enter the semicircle. They have to put a foot down by rule, I would think, yes, right? They cannot step on the line into that semicircle prior to what? The ball hitting the floor, the ball hitting another player, the ring, or the backboard. Correct answer here is C, the ring. The restriction on taking that action would end when the ball contacted the ring. Previously, I have been confused about this situation, as it used to be back in the day. Players in marked lane spaces could not enter until the ball contacted the backboard or the ring. When they released that restriction several years ago, NFHS allowing players to enter the lane upon release, that the backboard part of the equation was taken out. So our correct answer here is the ring, something that I learned fairly recently. All right, let's move on. Question 22. A guard, cast, or brace made of a hard and unyielding substance shall not be worn on. What shall it not be worn on? Easy to think this through. The wrist, the elbow, the finger, or all of the above. We're talking about a hard item. Let's say a hard cast. If it's on a finger and a player swipes to block a shot and hits the player who released the try in the face, that would be a foul. But if they hit them with a metal object on their finger, that's going to potentially inflict significant injury. And NFHS is all about preventing injury. Same with an elbow. If it's hard and there's an elbow action and a wrist similarly, right? These are all extensions from the shoulder, and these would all be illegal by rule. They all present a risk of injury beyond the pale. D is our correct answer on question 22. Let's move on to question 23. Timeout occurs and the clock, if running, shall be stopped when a player signals a timeout. Hey, timeout, ref. Shall be stopped when a coach signals a timeout. Hey, timeout, ref. C, shall be stopped when an official signals a foul, a held ball, a timeout, or a violation. Or D, all of the above. Kind of convoluted wording. C is a correct statement. The clock, if running, shall be stopped when an official signals a foul, a violation, a held ball, or a timeout. Right? We're going to stop the clock. So obviously that includes timeouts. So our correct answer here is C. That's the answer. Yeah, let's move on. Question 24. After time has been out, the clock shall be started. A, when the ball touches the floor inbounds. B, when the official signals. C, when the ball touches either basket, or D, all of the above. After time has been out, the clock shall be started. That sounds like ancient language. After time has been out. You mean at the conclusion of a timeout? Or after the clock has stopped? Anyway, in any event, we're making the ball live. And one of the ways we're going to do that is with jump ball would not apply in this situation. I guess it could start overtime, but this is either going to be a throw-in or a free throw situation. When does the clock properly start in those situations? It's when it's legally touched, right? So it'd be touched by a player, and when it is legally touched, the officials are responsible for indicating to the timer that they should start the clock. That's the reason we extend a hand overhead and we chop the clock, whatever technique you use, chop the clock. We are indicating to the timer, hey, start the clock, right? It's important to understand that. A lot of officials go through the motions of raising their hand and lowering their hand, and without the understanding that what they're doing is indicating to the timer that they should take an action. So a correct answer here would be B. When the official signals is when the clock should be started. Next question is question 25. The first violation of the throw-in plane by an opponent of the thrower results in what? We have a violation of the boundary plane by an opponent of the thrower. They extend a hand or leg, foot through the boundary plane. What is the action that results? That is a technical foul, baby. That is an intentional foul, a delay of game warning, or the loss of opportunity to move on the end line. Wait a minute. This is an opponent of the thrower. So D is off the table, right? When a team violates the boundary plane, the action there is a delay of game warning. So we sternly admonish the player, hey, no, that's not what a delay of game warning is. A delay of game warning is a situation where it's an administrative action where we instruct the scorer to put a delay of game warning into the scorebook, and we we communicate to the coach of the team that has offended here that a delay of game warning has been assessed. This is a very public thing that's done into the scorebook. The head coach is notified. Obviously, the player is going to be notified of their action through that consequence as well, right? So it is not a technical foul. It is not an intentional foul. It is not a delay it is a delay of game warning, right? If the team had already been given one of the 4 warnings for delay previously, and that action was taken, hey, put it in the book, instruct the head coach, tell the head coach, and now they do it again, then the team would be liable for a team technical foul for delay. But the first violation results in a delay of game warning. Yeah. All right. Short session today. I am going to be wrapping it up. We will do the next 25 questions tomorrow because I got work to do, baby. Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, Billy, the situation with, you've got a defender, their foot has not contacted the line, but they extend their derriere with emphasis into a midsection of a vulnerable free thrower. Would that be a delayed lane violation or simply a foul? Could we have a foul on the thrower without a delayed lane violation? Well, Zooch, here's the good news. You've already taken this test. So, would that be the feedback? Is that this is the NFHS test just jumbled? Because that would really help me out. Oh. Gregor. The Gregor. Hey, Adam. I said, I got your email about the sound on NFHS videos. That's very interesting. I'm going to definitely do that. We'll see how it goes. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Yeah, so if this was NFHS and I could package it as such, that would be a plus. I just wasn't sure because nobody sent me the NFHS test, even though somebody promised yesterday. Michael Williams, the Michael Williams. If you watched on 5 Play Friday, of course, Michael was a visitor on 5 Play Friday last season. And if you remember that play, it was the spot of the foul action during that transition basket or transition foul. Yeah. You know, obviously, I hold Michael in high esteem as an official. Somebody to look up to for young officials, that's for sure. Perfect. Okay. Perfect. Love it. I mean, the obviously the thing of doing these videos is not to, hey, here's the answer, right? But what I found is when I sort of rushed through the test in previous years, I made a mistake. Usually it was a perception mistake. It was, all of these are true except, and I would just say, oh, that's true, and give that answer. And then I had to come back and say, okay, here's all the ones I got wrong, and here's why I got them wrong, etc. Which I just don't, that doesn't sit well with me that I've provided erroneous information to people. But obviously the purpose here is not to simply give the answer, but rather discuss the underlying rules and restrictions. Okay. All right. Okay, gents. It seems like exclusively gents. I am going to wrap it up. I have got to get some work done outside of live streaming. I will be back tomorrow. We'll do the other 25 questions. We'll knock it all out, and then 5 Play Friday on Friday. What are you going to do? Let's do it. We'll see you then.